they're at the door. He's like, oh, but can I get something to eat? And she like, we just ate. This man apparently doesn't leave himself a plate while he's already in the kitchen. He's like, oh, but I didn't eat. So she lets him in. And Rami, we know how you would have handled this situation.
Legs up. Time to eat. I thought I meant.
So when she spoon like a BB moment, which is like a beautiful black moment. Did we get any of those in this episode?
Black. We have a chaotic bi moment of the
chaotic bi moment. And you're watching Black Bi Reality.
Black Bi Baddies.
And those who love us.
Hello, you're watching Black Bi Reality, a place for Black Bi Baddies and those who love us. We're back to talk about the finale episode of And Just Like That, Season 2. I'll be joined by my usual co-host, Aramide. But before that, we also have a guest with us. Now, I know you guys are probably either happy or sad that this season's ending, but I wanted to let you guys know I'm going to do another look back at the season as a whole with YouTuber, video essayist, and writer Princess Weeks. So please be on the lookout for that. Like if you're liking what you're seeing or hearing, comment any thoughts you have about the episode or what we've said, and subscribe. We heard that And Just Like That is coming back for season 3. I'll be back. I have no clue if Aramide will be, but we'll talk about that soon. Now to have my co-host Aramide join us, and also we have a Quita Tinsley here, a writer, strategist, and pop culture enthusiast. Their pronouns are they, she. So, hello, you guys.
Hi. Hello.
Hi. Now, I always ask how the big thoughts. How are we feeling about this episode?
Go for it, Quita.
I was underwhelmed just a little. I was like, this is the finale. I don't know. I guess, yeah, I was a little overwhelmed with the finale for this season. How did y'all feel about it?
I thought everyone looked really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this could have been like the ending. Like, I'm like, this could have ended everything. It tied everything up in a very neat bow. And I was like, okay, I don't know why we need season 3. I guess I'll be watching it. But I don't know why we need it after this episode.
I actually really liked it. I thought everyone looked great. I liked how we wrapped up the stories. We get a taste of like what Miranda's romance life will be like in the future, but I need a 3rd season just to actually watch it play out. So that's how I'm feeling. I'm excited to dive in. This episode starts. Samantha has called Carrie. We see her in everything. She's in a car, on the phone, and she lets her know she was trying to surprise her at this Last Supper, but how the planes be acting, she was not able to make it. So she asked Carrie, put me on speaker. I'm going to talk to this apartment. And she says, thank you for everything. You fucking fabulous, fabulous flat. Apparently, Samantha partially has a British accent now. Now, we knew that this appearance was coming. What did we think?
I didn't expect it to be so soon in the episode, so I like wasn't ready for it. I was like just getting my coffee and kind of like easing into my morning. I was like, wait. So I had to like rewind it. I was so excited to see Kim. I thought she looked absolutely fabulous. And like, I love like the Fendi bag that she had in her lap. And I was glad to actually see her. I don't know why I thought it would just be like some like really weird FaceTime situation that we were going to be forced to endure. But it was like, I felt like, oh, I like this. But then like the accent kind of threw me off a little bit. And I was like, I don't really like that. I was glad to see her. I don't know if it was necessary, but I'm glad that Kim took pity on us when she didn't want to. So I guess I'll just be grateful for the whole thing.
Right. It definitely felt like she was doing it for the fans. Like, here you go. Here's Samantha one time for the last time. I also was surprised about how quickly it wasn't. I, in my head, assumed it would be at the end. And then I'm like, oh, whoa, Samantha's here right now. Yeah, I think in my head, I think I had thought it would be closer to the end. I think a part of the reason why I was underwhelmed is I think I thought there would be like much more of like a cliffhanger at the end, but the story was wrapped up so well. It definitely felt like this is the end of, and just like that. I was like, wait, so where do we go from here? Like, everything's so neat.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised it was at the top because, like, we know Carrie, or not even Carrie, but Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall are not getting along. So I think having a huge build-up to the Samantha, knowing that they're not even cool like that, and like Samantha's not going to be in this show like that, I feel like it's here damn.
Yes, very much her damn. But I'll take it, I guess.
I didn't hear a British accent either. Like, she said flat, and like Carrie said it, but I was like, it felt like an American saying flat to me, but okay. All right, next, as we know from last episode, Charlotte got out, she turned up, left her phone and a picture of Margarita, and Harry wakes her up. She's still in the same outfit and makeup from last night. He says Anthony is here to talk about losing his ass virginity. And Harry tries to get buck wild, saying, I can't do it all. And Charlotte's like, first of all, you haven't been doing it all with your little breakfast and whatnot. She said, shut up. And Harry once again was like, you right. So what do we think of that scene?
I love the way
I live for Harry and Charlotte. Like, they've like made it. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I also love that these opportunities that Charlotte is just like getting Harry together. Like, I have been a stay-at-home wife and mother for all these years. You are now helping with the child rearing and maintaining this house, and you are not dying. You are fine, right? I think,
absolutely.
And I love that Harry's receptive, right? Because most times when we see this in like television shows, it like plays on a trope of there being like, no, this is your work. And so I love that Harry's like, damn, you're right. I'm sorry. Let me go deal with this. I'm going to tell Anthony to go somewhere else with this.
Next, Miranda visits Steve's new business in Coney Island. She made the trek, and basically she tells him, I don't want to just be someone in your past. I'd love to be someone in your present and future. And Steve says he doesn't want anything more than friends. And she's like, that's smart. Basically, Brady also sees them from afar and smiles, which is honestly the amount of kids I want in this show is exactly that.
This is it. Like, that's all I want. I want Rock and Lily to be like confused about why their mother hasn't packed their lunchbox. And I want to know, like, to see Brady off in the distance. I don't want to know anything else about these children, like nothing. And I appreciated this sort of come to Jesus moment that Steve and Miranda are having, because they always were decent friends. Like, they haven't been having sex in decades. Like, there was never any of that. They could have always come to this point. It never had to go to the point where it needed to be. And like she said, you were right about us moving to Brooklyn when you said you were right about us being good co-parents. They should have never, if you go back and watch Sex in the City, when she put this man out of her house for watching Scooby-Doo when she was trying to do a law brief, they should have never been any more than co-parents and friends. So I appreciated this full circle moment, because I do appreciate seeing Steve, just like I appreciate seeing Harry. Like, I think he's absolutely hilarious. And like you said, Quita, what's interesting with LTW's husband is he's always confused and befuddled, and he needs to be got together, just like Charlotte getting Harry together real quick. So
Mhm.
I enjoyed that little Coney Island moment. And that's the only thing that Carrie told Miranda that made sense all season. Like, you don't have to like eliminate Steve from your life. She could have been eliminated Che from her life, but she didn't have to eliminate Steve from her life.
I have been watching Sex in the City recently. I restarted it. Yeah, and it's like they were never a good long-term romantic partnership match because Miranda clearly wanted a partner who was more ambitious. Like Steve is just a chill guy who liked working at the bar. He then owned the bar and he's like, I can do this for the rest of my life. And Miranda is clearly a very ambitious person who in her 50s is restarting a new career, right? Like they are very different. They I mean, I did love though that in that moment where she said, you were wrong about us. And he said, I wasn't, because I think there is beauty in recognizing that they did try, right? And they had this beautiful relationship. It might not have been the one that Miranda wanted, but it was beautiful, right?
Right. I'm always, and this is probably bad, but like, or maybe it's the screenwriter in me, but I'm always so aware of the writers and like why they're saying or putting words in the mouths of these characters for a reason. I actually forgot in the last season, our last scene, Charlotte actually talked about expectations and really talked about Harry having like taking on the expectations that are put on mothers or women. um and I think the theme of this whole episode is like subvert your expectations. Like I know y'all dragged us for filth in the first season of this show, but like please trust us, it's not going to be the same show, but just lower the expectations or change the expectations. And that also, when Miranda and Steve were talking and Steve says, no, I was right about us. I also was thinking a writer put that in because there's always going to be people who are just team Steve. And like there's I think it makes sense that Miranda is queer now. And it doesn't to me lessen what she had with Steve, but then again, I'm bisexual, so I would have that perspective. But I think a lot of straight ladies are gonna be like really upset, and that was like to them.
I wasn't upset. So I just like y'all know that. Like I wasn't upset. They just from the moment he showed her that corduroy suit in season 1 of Sex and the City,
Oh my god.
baby.
Um, Jean brings Naya some good news. She got accepted into the American Law Institute. But when she comes home to Miranda, she admits, yeah, I have this like great life that I wanted, but I ain't got a man to share it with. And like, she looked a little embarrassed for admitting that. She also was kind of embarrassed that her first instinct with the good news was to call her ex-husband. So
I mean, part of me was just like, ugh, why are you being like, I don't have a man to share it with, girl? Like, you're amazing. But a part of, I mean, I was like, granted, a lot of people do feel that way, right? Like feeling like they should be married, they should have a partner to share all of this with. But I think also a part of it when she names that she wanted to call him is like the part of grief of like grieving a relationship, a breakup, a divorce, and recognizing that she did think she was going to spend the rest of her life with this man that she had been with for so long. And ultimately they broke up over something, it's like over time they started to realize their differences around wanting to have kids, right? And it led to the ending of their relationship, which I don't think either one of them ever foresaw. And so she's achieving all these beautiful things in her career, and she doesn't have this person that she expected to share it with. And also simultaneously, she's watching him have these things that he's wanted, and it's with someone else, right? And it's, I think the hard part around having relationships and them not going the way that you expected. But also, I'm just like, girl, you're amazing, and you don't need a man to share it with. Like, you have friends, you have others that you can share all of this beauty with.
agree with Quita. Like, I immediately wanted to vomit a little bit. Like, the feminist in me wanted to die a little bit. Like, ugh, why would you say that? But I do recognize that people really want romantic love and they want those ties. And like you said, Quita, the grief that Naya is feeling because she spent so much half of her life almost with Andre Rashad, even though he's a complete douchebag of a human being. For what I can from what I can see. So I get that, but I also appreciated Miranda being like, okay, this is a cute pity party, but you're gonna put on your good bra and we're going up to Carrie's.
Yeah, I think Naya at the end of the day is very much a girlfriend relationship girly, since I think Andre again was like only the second person she's ever been with and just stayed with him for so long. So it's a huge adjustment, not surprising. So finally the soiree starts. I loved Carrie's dress. I loved the sleeves. It was so fun.
I loved LTW's dress, like the red. I thought it was so beautiful with her like honey blonde bob, and even the contrast of the dinner placement with that new wallpaper Carrie has. I just thought, because at work, me and my coworkers were having this debate, like, oh, like this table won't be able to fit in her apartment. I'm like, it will if they move the bed, like it'll all fit. So I just loved it. Like, I loved being back in that space. It's just such an iconic space, and I thought it was so beautifully done. And I loved her being real, like, oh, we're actually using Lisette's old apartment because, girl, I don't even know if this still works. So I really appreciated the sort of beauty of this like brownstone that you're walking up and down the stairs. I just loved it. It was such a beautiful goodbye to this like space that we've been in for 25 years.
Biggest thing that stood out to me was the transformation of the space of like Carrie's apartment that we have been in for all this time. And when Aiden was having fear and anxiety about going up to the apartment, and she's like, it's different, like it's not the same. And I think in this moment in this episode, you're like, whoa, like this apartment is very different than when this series first started of Sex in the City, right? And like how time does change so much, especially in the play. And honestly, looking, I was like noticing Charlotte and Harry's place, right? And that's the same place that I believe that she had with Trey, right? And it looks completely different. And like all this time has passed, and we think of these places as anchors and homes, but they too transform with us and change with us as time goes on. It was so beautiful. I think that paired with Samantha saying goodbye and like Charlotte walking in and being like, you remember when we used to eat cold sesame noodles out of a cardboard box, right? Like, I think it was just so beautiful to see how much the physical space also had transformed as they also got older and transformed.
I think we're still going to see this place in season 3, given Lisette's in there. And I think they really hinted hard of where Lisette's going to go in season 3, but we'll talk about that. So, Charlotte, what a starter for LTW's night. She goes up to LTW and she's like, oh, you're drinking. And Herbert says, we lost it. And LTW says, I miscarried. Oh my gosh. It's still shocking that this even happened this season.
It's so shocking that no one wanted to talk about abortions when it would have been the most obvious choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was there when Charlotte was like, oh, you're drinking, which is something Charlotte would say before she caught herself, I think, but maybe also not, because Charlotte is very much about decorum. I don't know. Exactly. She walks a fine line between like decorum. So that worked. But then for Herbert to interject, like I wanted to punch him in the face, which I wanted to punch him in the face the majority of the season. And I just felt so bad for LTW because I think for me, when my friends have told me about their pregnancies, whether they decide to go through them or not, like I'm always concerned about them. And it's just nothing that I would ever talk about in this environment. Like if I noticed a friend that was drinking and I knew that they were pregnant or had been pregnant, I would never discuss that in that moment. That's just not appropriate. And it wasn't, are you okay? Like, do you need anything? It was just immediately she's just trying to have a good night and show up for Carrie. And then she's dealing with this again. And I just hated it.
Yeah, it read to me that Charlotte was literally just overexcited. Like, I think she got like swept up, and I can just see her getting swept up. To be fair, men totally grieve as well, or partners who weren't pregnant grieve as well when there is a pregnancy loss that they were looking forward to. I think just like everything that has already happened with Herbert this season, and the fact that he's the first to say it instead of just waiting to, maybe LTW didn't want to go into it, you know, and like it's just I hated that he jumped in and said we lost it like that.
I mean, I really agree with you, Aramide, around like there should have been an abortion storyline. Like, I don't know why it wasn't. It's like it could have been so easily. Um, and I'm not trying to discount that, like, both abortion and miscarriage are very real things that happen to people who experience pregnancies, right? But I think this show could have used the storyline as an opportunity to show that, especially in this political climate, I think it's like say the word abortion. And also it would have made much more sense that a mother of like 2 or 3 who was working later in life does not want to start over with a newborn, right? Especially when she has such a big project. And to be honest, she is married to a man who is not adequately showing up like as a parent with her. And she's largely taking on the brunt of child rearing and managing the household. So it just would have made more sense for it to be an abortion storyline. And I agree with you, Nicole. It just seems like a classic Charlotte moment where she's so excited. She's like, wait, you're drinking? Like, oh my God. And then she's like, oh, was I not supposed to know? Like Herbert's, and then it's like, and I think Herbert as LTW's partner in that moment should have like read the room of like turning to her to let her address her friend about this very intimate, sensitive topic that he, as her husband, should know how sensitive it is for her. And he's just like, oh, we lost it. It's like, and I'm sure she doesn't want to get into all of this at the top of a dinner party.
Yeah, let's just go through LTW's version of the night, right? So she actually says, I don't want to go into it. So she's trying to have like a stiff upper lip. But later on, Carrie shows her new cat shoe to everyone. And she's like, my baby, my baby. And LTW was like, well, that's my cue to like leave and go to the bathroom. Herbert follows. And we get a scene of LTW vocalizing guilt of not wanting the baby, and therefore is the miscarriage like a punishment or like a result of that. And I'm just I've seen it before. I feel like I've seen this scene before where a character gets an unexpected pregnancy, actually a pregnancy they don't want. They're like, actually, I'm not comfortable with abortion. And instead, they conveniently, for the writers to conveniently put in a miscarriage, and then was like, but then she's going to feel guilty. She's going to be feeling real guilty that she never wanted it. Bitch, some people can be relieved. There's so many different feelings that come, and I'm over. I'm over seeing this woman beaten up by guilt for wanting the life that she wants and also not being able to be active. I think another thing to point out is like making it a miscarriage versus an abortion makes her less active as a character. And you always want your characters to be active. It's so much more interesting storytelling.
I 100% agree with everything that you said. And I think for her, it's just, what is this guilt? Is it guilt that like you feel like society has placed on you, that Herbert is placing? Because I don't really think it's her guilt that she's holding, which is also like another thing that LTW is holding this season, along with her household and her children, and Herbert's like running for whatever the fuck, some ridiculous New York position. And it was just so frustrating. I was glad to see that he literally followed her, because I give him a lot of shit because I don't think he's a great partner, but he did at least like sit with her and like go follow her into the bathroom, like open the door. So that I appreciated. But like you said, Nicole, this is something we continue to see. It's a very old and very tired trope. And it would have been much more empowering for her to be like, you know what, this is not the right time in my life. This is not where I want to be. Like, let me go and make a decision about my life, the trajectory of my life for myself. And there's no guilt about it. And it just is what it is.
Ooh, so let's go to the gays. So Anthony and Giuseppe, they show up looking great, and then we just can tell there's still shade being thrown between them, because they're about to go up the stairs and Giuseppe was like, oh, do you want to go first, or that's too much, like you're the lady and shit like that. And Anthony's like, whatever. He starts walking up the stairs and he's like, but don't look at my ass. So there's that. We knew Anthony had enough anxiety trying to get to talk to Charlotte about it. What is Charlotte gonna do? I don't know. Wait, Charlotte did have an anal storyline, didn't she?
I feel like there was an episode where they talked about anal and Sex in the City, but I can't.
I think she was against it.
And there was a guy who wanted to have anal with her, right? Or was that Miranda?
I think it was Charlotte, and she was uptight. She was like, I don't want to be the butt girl. Like, I'm trying to get married. And it's just like, so she's not the girl for Anthony for this advice. Like, they're both gonna be messed up. So yeah, we find out later that Giuseppe is he is considering returning to Rome because New York is impenetrable. And later on, when Anthony is talking privately with him, Giuseppe's like, it's not just about bottoming or topping. It's about, you don't let me in emotionally. It's still about, you're older than me. I'm younger than you. We can't be seen. Like, it's like he's embarrassed and still has a lot of shame about this age gap relationship. So it truly is like, what's the point?
I really like this storyline. I was talking to one of my best friends about it, and he was like, in his experience dealing with older men, also like older gay men, like they do feel a lot of shame around things like that. So I appreciated like Giuseppe kind of sticking up for himself and being like, I'm not about to be your little secret, like I'm not doing whatever this like but I also think that like as much as I was like, why is Anthony here in this series, like they actually gave him a very real storyline, and I really appreciate it.
Because also I think when we see age gap relationships portrayed, it's often under this like dynamic of the older person being more in control of the relationship. And Anthony's actually very aware of how he's normally been in control in relationships and is worried about that dynamic. And also recognizing that Giuseppe's not the one to just let him take control. And Giuseppe's like, no, we're equals in this relationship. We're both in this. Although I was a little annoyed with Giuseppe just like dropping the thing about Rome in the middle of like a conversation with Anthony's friends, because I'm just like, why would you surprise him along with his friends about this thing? And also kind of like weaponize it to be like, oh, if you don't let me in, I'm going back to Italy. And I'm like, if you're going to give an ultimatum, okay, that is what it is, but you should actually have that conversation in private with Anthony and not drop it in the middle of a conversation with his friends.
It was a little petty, bratty bitchiness. I was kind of for it because it's just like, yeah, there has to be drama at this party. But no, realistically, in real life, don't do this. It's bad. But of course, in the heat of the moment, Anthony's like, well, I've only loved one person before. And Giuseppe's like, you love me? He's like, yeah, I thought I said that. And it's like, he's probably referring to like a time he yelled at him about something. Like, I feel like that's Anthony's love language. Of course, these two gays are like making out in Carrie's closet. A second time they were hooking up at a party. And what a mess. The episode ends with Anthony bottoming. and his facial expression, it was a roller coaster. I really didn't know what to make of it.
I thought it was hilarious because I think it's like very realistic of like someone doing something the first time you're really not uneasy, but just very unsure about it. So like I appreciated them not being like, oh, like he's just having so much fun right away. Cause like anytime you experience something new, whether it's sexual or otherwise, it's kind of like you might be a little bit trepidatious about it. So I was quite humored.
I loved as they're like panning out you see the little clip of the nightstand and there's like the liquor, the multiple lubes, because it's like we do know how big Giuseppe is. So it's like let's also be real that like this is like trying something new for the first time, but also doing this with a partner who has a large penis. And so it's like, let's just be real. You're going to need the gun oil. You're going to need the boy butt. You're going to need all the different things to loosen up and relax to try to enjoy this experience.
Have to do this tonight. We could have started with some plugs, like truly with some fingers, like okay. But yeah, I also, Quita, was looking so closely at like the nightstand, and I was like, there's actually so much here I cannot make of it. So I'm glad you mentioned it. Let's just talk about how Che moves through the night. So Che at the beginning meets Lisette, y'all, and Lisette seems starstruck by Che, which like I know in this world Che is supposed to be like somewhat famous, but I'm kind of over the girlies being starstruck by them. I need someone who has no clue who Che is. But yeah, so they bond over having a cocoon stage. It's really cutesy bootsy. What do we think of this pairing if it becomes something?
So I hope that it doesn't. Like, I truly cannot deal with Che being with any more of Carrie's people, and like Lisette is like her like niece, little sister, human person. Lisette was sitting there getting so moist for Che, and they're just eating it up. Like they're like living in the way that they do. And all I could think about was them like being on what was it, Cameo or whatever the F in bed with Miranda, and that pissing me off so bad. I'm like, you guys have to fully redeem Che, and we're not there yet. Like, they're not fully redeemed, and I don't care about them enough for them to be over here with Lisette. But I'm also interested because Lisette mentioned something about a stain on the ceiling in that apartment. So that also put my heckles up. That I think there's going to be some type of, I wonder if there's going to be some type of tension between her and Carrie, or if she's going to need, I don't know why she would need Che. I don't think Che is capable of helping them with this. I don't know. But there's sowing some seeds for season 3, and I don't like it.
I definitely was hoping, I'm like, please don't let this be a seed that in season 3 we're going to see the two of them together, because I don't have time, patience, or energy for any of that. Like, and also, again, just like, can we please stop like fanning out over Che? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of them. I'm tired of all. And it's like, it's just another time for them to be in their ego. And I'm like, I'm just over it.
Yeah. I'm here for Che existing as a character. Just very much like, yeah, in the original series, we weren't dating in the friend group a lot like this. And like, I know it is a queer thing to kind of do it, but it's like, New York's a big city. So no. I expect the spot on the ceiling to be nothing, because I just think there was like a lot of weird things about Carrie's apartment. And also I just remembered freaking Lily and Brady, the whole question of whether they did or did not hook up did not even get answered in this. So if they can forget about that, they can forget about the spot on the ceiling. Well, the next thing. So Che, Miranda. Actually, I'm going to start from Miranda's point of view. So Miranda walks in with Naya. Aramide, we finally see Tucson.
Ever wanted in my black ass life since we saw Gary Dourdan in the first, and I was like, Nicole. Gary, like I was like obsessed because I think he's so sexy. Like I've been in love with him since he was in that Janet Jackson video again from like '94. But anyway, he's so fine. I was like, you don't bring Gary Dourdan in like where is like I was irritated this whole like I don't want to see this pregnant white woman. I don't want to care about a baby buggy. I was irritated as F. So when we walk in and he on that chef's coat, I said, Sam Irby, is this you? Are you finally coming through for us this season? So he's just so sexy, and like the whole dinner party was sexy, and I was like, yes, like this is what I need, because nobody has been doing it for me this whole season but him. Like, yes, so I was like, this is what I deserve personally. This is what Naya deserves. And then it was so funny to me because Miranda did not want to go upstairs without Naya because obviously, she's assuming that Che's going to be up there. And Naya was like, bitch, please get the fuck out of here immediately. And she like goes up the stairs so she can have this moment. But yeah, it's like finally someone like, this is all I wanted. I just appreciate what they've done for me personally. I do.
Yes, I was dead. The moment they're having this conversation, walk in the door being like, I got your back, you got my back, we're doing this together. This finance man walks out and she's like, Naya's like, girl, if you don't take your ass on up to Carrie's apartment and leave me here. It's like, not you. Damn, like, can we at least pretend for 5 minutes? Like, not the first 30 seconds after we finish the conversation. But I get it. It is Carrie Bradshaw. So I'm like, I get it. But at the center of it, I think all of this anxiety that Miranda has had about her relationship with Che, to me, never made sense, because it's just like, it should have been easier to just kind of like move on from Che in a way. I get it. They were her first queer experience, but I'm just like, a lot of this energy that she was putting into this relationship with Che, I think should have been put into the divorce or breakup with Steve, right? Of like, that is a relationship that you would want to like think about having a friendship, or how do you amicably split things versus like obsessing over Che, who's like in bed on Cameo while you're trying to sleep and have to wake up in a few hours, right?
So Miranda walks in, of course Che's right there. Yo, the energy Miranda brought, she just goes, so we can't get buck wild in this apartment right now, but if I could. And Che was just like, nah, we're not gonna do all that. So Che was like, look, I'm sorry, I'll never do those jokes again. Miranda says they're not jokes. Che maintains, I thought they were jokes. And then Che was like, Miranda said, I thought we were cool. Che was like, I thought so too, so why aren't you answering my calls? First of all, an ex can leave you on read, cannot answer your calls for a second. Like, take a break. Like, it's so weird that Che's trying to act like Miranda threw the first shot in this whole thing.
They say you ignored my 2 calls. Two, you had all of this energy over 2 phone calls, and it's like, can Miranda have a second? Like, this was a lot. You do recognize that Miranda had been married to a man, had not had any real queer experiences up until then. Like, she's trying to figure things out. And I'm like, personally, if I were Miranda, I would have came in hot. Like, I'm going to be respectful because this is my friend's party, but I'm coming in roasting, like, immediately. Like, no, like, you had your little jokes, I'm about to have mine.
Like, Lyle, that's all I have to say. You have a whole husband, please. Like, I don't have anything else to say about you, to you. Please kiss the blackest part of my ass. I know that Miranda's a white woman, insufferable people, and I hated who Miranda was when she was with them. So glad it's over. Don't ever want to see you again. Peace and chicken grease.
Who calls? It was not an emergency. You didn't die. Like, it's so dumb. So at the end, Miranda, I still have such a soft spot for Miranda because, like, I can still so clearly remember, like, my first, like, the first queer partners I had, and just like the excitement, like getting swept up. And like, I think also the Libra in me is like so romantic. So like, I've literally been Miranda before, and saying what she says I know is so cringe, but also I'm like, Miranda, you're so strong for being so vulnerable. Because she says, Che called it a train wreck. Miranda said, but a good train wreck, like, it got you to where you needed to go, no one died, there you go. And then Che's just like, sure, it was a good train wreck. But it's like, this was like very life altering to Miranda. I don't think there's any shame of like, yeah, her not looking at it as all bad. But I think the difference between them is that Miranda has a lot of self-esteem actually because she's like a very accomplished woman who's farther into her life. I think Che still has so much shame that they're just like, I gotta make the joke about how bad things are, and actually like Miranda seems so weird for trying to like make this seem like there was any good in it. And it's like, lighten up.
For them as like a queer person who has been out and aware of themselves for longer, yes, they could have had an experience like that with another person who's having their first queer experience and it gone very similarly, right? So it wasn't an awakening for them, but recognizing that it was an awakening for Miranda. And clearly it couldn't have all been bad because they invited Miranda to go to California with them, right? And so when Miranda uses that train, or when the train wreck analogy comes up, and Miranda, it was the only train that could get you where you were going. And that was the thing for her, right? Like this happening was probably one of the few things that could have woken her up to how unhappy she was in this marriage with Steve and the change she needed to make within that relationship, right? And like awakening her own queerness. But like, Che, can you just give Miranda some grace and compassion, and also give yourself some grace and compassion, right? And like recognize that they are very insecure.
Like, and it's still giving that energy that Miranda was so obviously the one dumped, but it's also like Che's acting like it was a dumping after a big fight or a big argument. It was literally a dumping because Che's like, I can't have a supportive girlfriend right now. Like, let's be real, because that's all Miranda was doing. And she was like, nope, goodbye. And that's a train wreck. Okay. So what's our next pairing? Sema girl. Sema shows up with Ravi, okay? And, you know, Carrie's showing this thrift store painting to Ravi. He's listening, and then he's like, oh, I got a phone call, which the people, like, this is, you're acting with some big actors, but just imagine the audition for this was just, can you pretend to be on your phone? Thanks. Great. Like, that's all he does. So, Carrie basically is like, hey, what's going on? And Sema's like, I'm not putting any energy into this. And she's like, girl, what do you do? He just walked out to be on his phone. And Sema was like, I said I love you to him first, and like this is ridiculous. And Carrie's like, let's slow down. I think you're getting scared, so let's just take a breather. And I liked the writing of this because she brings it back and she's like, you're not a temp.
But I also think that Sema's right. So like I get Carrie trying to be like the good friend, just like when she like got Charlotte down the aisle the first time, when she basically was like, okay, like you have to go marry Trey now, even though you're not fucking or he's weird or whatever. Like I feel like she went into like that friend mode that she can sometimes do well. But Sema's right. Like this man hasn't paid her no mind. All they've done is have like good sex, which is fine, but this is not the fairy tale that Sema wants or deserves. So she's recognizing this and saying like I guess he's here, but like he's always on his phone. Like I feel X, Y, and Z. Like I don't understand how she can love him, how he loves her. Do they know anything about each other? Like what is this? I hate it. I hate it so bad. The man is fine if you want to fuck him, fine. But this whole like, oh, we want something more. Beat feet. Like, let's move it along, put a new train, some new niggas. Like, this is no, it's a no from me. And Sema knows that because she knows herself and she's waited this long because she knows what she deserves.
No, he's not the one, right? But I think also a part of it is like Sema is aware that something about this relationship is not the right fit for her. But I think the way she does talk about it is like speaking from a lot of insecurities versus being grounded in like, he is not showing up in the way that I want my partner to, right? Because I'm like, he's actually just the same person, right? So it's not like he was acting one way, she fell in love, and now he's acting a different way. He's the same dude who's been preoccupied with his phone since the moment that he stepped into the office building, right? And so I think for me, it's just like, I want her to be more in touch with what she is truly desiring versus keep going into these relationships being like, no, this isn't right. This isn't right. And so it's like, well, what is it that you want? And your question around day of like, what are they saying they're in love? Like, are they just swept up like around like meeting somebody who's as ambitious as them, or they're fine, or the sex is good? Like, what does she love about him?
Like, the storytelling is so much telling, not showing. Like it, and that does make me question of who I'm supposed to believe. I am like, it's funny, Aramide, because you're like, girl, Carrie is misleading her girl again. I didn't think of that. I was like, oh, this is the writer's perspective on this situation. They think Sema just needs to chill out. This guy's for her, and like quit being scared. But it's like, yeah, we're not seeing anything good between them. Later on, we find out Ravi got the call that he is not going to be able to film at the Sphinx. I feel like I'm about to say sphincter. Sphinx. If he doesn't go right now, he can't film in front of that sand cat, whatever. And so he's like, yeah, I gotta go. And she's like, you know what, you're leaving immediately after I say I love you. And he's like, I said I love you right back. And she was like, that's not the point. And you and the little TikTokers. And he's like, look, like, your insecurity is an insult to what we have.
But what do they have? Like, I'm so confused. Like, they don't have nothing. And I get, like, this is his job, but that's what he's here to do. Like, things do happen in entertainment very quickly. But like, her brain is telling her, this is not what I want. This is not right. But she's still trying to make it into a green flag. I'm not saying the man is diabolical and that he's the he devil, but I'm saying that is not your nigga. Like, let him go. If you don't want to build a foam castle in Yankee Stadium, then let him go to Cairo and leave me alone. Like, I am with him.
Right, because have we even seen them on a date where he's right? It's like, well, we've seen them. It's been with her friends or with right. So it's like, what are we seeing? What is this romance that exists in their relationship? Does she know him outside of them being in the bedroom or at dinner with her friends? I did feel like, though, with the thing around him going to Cairo, I was just like, this doesn't feel like that big of a deal. Like, Anna has the money to go see him on her own terms if she wanted to. It's not this, she's like, I'm not giving up my life and career, but it's like, who asked you to do that?
To be fair, Ravi did ask. He was like, why don't you come to Cairo with me? And she's like, bitch, do you see where I live right now? You see my bills? Like, what are you talking about? So he did ask, and she was like, nah, I didn't work this hard and have my own business to follow you around in Africa. So I really do think the writers thought that enough romance was giving her a brown man. It was like, here's a brown man, therefore marriage, right? And we're all like, what else? Is that it? Like, I'm confused. But I really do think that has to be part of it, because I don't know how they're selling this. So at the end of this, they go back to Sema's apartment, and yeah, they basically agree they're gonna make this work long distance. That's where we're leaving them for before season 3.
Girl, I guess. Like, I'm glad that Sema's reaction was, I kept thinking about like when the Russian asked Carrie to move with him to Paris, and like, I loved Sema's reaction, be like, nigga, no. Like, I'm not doing that.
Now the night from Carrie's perspective. Toussaint, he finally starts giving out the plates. Yo, I forgot this. But when he was telling them how to eat this goddamn appetizer, and Naya's thirsty ass was like, I licked the spoon after the black one. And he was like, yeah, that's what I want you to do. And then she was like, oh, it exploded in my mouth. Naya, shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. That's what Miranda should have kicked her and be like, you acting real trifling right now. The gays are looking at you like, what is going on? And they be fucking in at parties. You're doing more than them.
It's bad when the gays are like, get a room, because they're literally in the closet about to fuck. Like, Naya, calm down, girl. He fine, but calm down.
I'm screaming because I loved it. I thought it was iconic. It was humiliating, yes. But this, I mean, if you're gonna just be out here for a heterosexual man, then like this is the man to do it for. So it was absolutely absurd. But I was moist and she was moist and we was all moist together.
So you asking Tucson?
I would never do this. I would never do this. But it very much gave me like on Bridgerton with the black, whatever the black duke was licking the spoon. That's what it gave for me. That's what it did for me. I feel like it's what she deserved. It's been it's been a very tumultuous season for poor Naya, mostly because she's over there on the morning show and they're not giving her storyline here, but that's another discussion for another day. It was very ridiculous, but I lived and I may have rewound it and watched it again.
I'm glad you got something out of this because, like, I watch every episode twice, and every time, like, the second time it was coming up, I'm like, oh, like, I have a full body cringe. How she asked, I was like, shut up. Play it cool. So Carrie asked everyone to go around the table and give one word that they're letting go of. So, for all the characters we care about, Che says rules. When do you follow any rules, Che? I'm confused. I'm real confused. Last season, you literally fucked in your boss's kitchen. Anthony says control. Good one. As a control freak, yes. Giuseppe, Rome. There we go. Nice little answer to our question. Robbie says social media. Social media was never the problem. It was never the problem, but okay. Sema says distrust. Aramide is like,
I don't think she's distrustful. I think she just knows who she is.
Naya says yesterday, what happened yesterday?
Maybe she means Andre Rashad or something. I don't know. But yes, please let Heidi McDougal have him. Like,
yeah. Miranda and LTW both say guilt, which love it. Lisette says fear. Sure, she got robbed this season, so that's understandable. Harry says possessiveness. When was Harry ever possessive?
Harry's not a possessive person. Like, he never has been. Maybe he just means like I don't know. He's not even that traditional. I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about.
Unless it's a nod to, there was a moment where he was anxious that Charlotte's boss was into her, but nothing of that ever materialized. Because when he's like, oh, I think your boss is into you, you're working on these late hours, he's making you stay. And Charlotte's like, he's not even, from what I've heard, I'm not even his type. He's into blondes. And then they pan to her boss talking to Carrie, and he's like talking about divorce, and then they like find their ways into Carrie as talking about her life as a widow. But yeah, I'm just like, I didn't get that.
If anything, Herbert's possessive. I can't. Wait, did Herbert even say anything?
No.
So maybe we can let him go in season 3. Toodles to the band.
The one character who needs to reflect, they didn't give a line to.
Right. They say, come back. He says, can you come back to me? And they never come back.
And then they never come back. That's how he gets away with everything. That's exactly how he gets away with it. Charlotte says limits, love that for her, and Carrie says expectations. So the night has ended. Carrie is playing with Shu, the cat, and Aiden is throwing a little pebble at his window. Is this a callback? I really don't know. Did he used
I
to do
think
this?
so. He did this the first time they broke up, or the second. I mean, the first time when she tells him before Charlotte's wedding that they need to. No, because he comes back to the gate. I think he does this though at some point.
I
Okay.
think it was when they get back together for the second time.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he like throws the pebble on the window.
I figured that this was a callback. She lets him up to the apartment, and he's like, look, girl, my son is down bad, and I am the primary caretaker. So I need you to wait for 5 years of your life. Just pause that for me. And we'll be back just like that. And Carrie looks shook. I don't know what she expected, honestly, from this conversation, because she already knew. She was like, no luggage. She should already know, like, we're gonna have a serious conversation, but she is ditzy sometimes. And she's just like, we're not gonna go back to doing every other week. Bitch, no. What don't you get about the situation? And so she basically lets go of her expectations. She's like, we're going to do this. 5 years will be so fast. And the next morning, he's in the new place. She was like, none of this. Us and this whole apartment that I have by my goddamn self is not a mistake at all. I'm going to be in this house by myself for 5 years. Just go and do what you gotta do. And so he leaves.
So I appreciated this ending because like no one is wrong, and that's always kind of who Aiden has been. Like he's gonna choose his kid over Carrie, and like he's not telling her to wait necessarily. He's just saying like I'll be back in 5 years. I guess this is the only reason the only way they could have tied. They had them in so deep. This is the only way that they could have tied this together and moved Carrie into a new place literally in her life. So she's like past this big stage. We've moved past this Aiden stage, and she's like finally getting a fresh start in a way that's not back to her old apartment. What's so interesting is when he like leaves, she's watching him leave, and he says right before he leaves, like, what could happen? Why I thought this man was gonna get hit by a car. I don't know why I thought he was, but he's like standing on the street before he gets into his Uber. And I just thought I'm like, that maybe it's that Tyler Perry. I've seen too many Tyler Perry movies or something. But I don't know. I appreciate the wrap up, but I'm like, we didn't need all of this either. It was just so re-traumatizing, I think, for everyone. No one's getting, even the Aiden people who live for Aiden. I don't think Aiden is her person. I never have thought that. It doesn't do anything for the character. He's still a decent guy. Like he's a good father, but he's not.
I think we have completely different reads of this.
Really? Okay,
yeah,
I'm really
because
excited.
I thought the discussion was literally, hey, yeah, we're going to be long distance for 5 years. But you're like, he didn't ask her to wait. And like, when she's at the end with Sema on the beach, they were talking about, so I'm waiting 5 months, you're waiting 5 years. And she was like, well, I might have time off if I'm for good behavior. I know it's a joke, but it's like, that sounds like we're continuing this relationship. I just maybe might like visit him in Virginia at times.
I think for me, I'm like, I see both of y'all's view of it, because I think there was such a lack of clarity in the conversation, because Aiden doesn't like say like, wait for me. He just says 5 years will go by so fast. Because even when Carrie says, I can come see you, he's like, no, because I would just be focused on you. Right. And so it's like, so we're supposed to wait 5 years for your son to get out of his teens. You're not coming to New York. I'm not coming to Virginia. So what is this relationship? You know, like there is no clarity around what they're going to be doing. And I think I hated it, but I did appreciate it when she was like, none of this was a mistake. Because it just made me think back to when Big was moving to Paris and he's like, you need to be doing this for you, because so easily making such a big like action or commitment like that can easily be like, I did this all for you. I think Carrie could have easily gotten mad at Aiden in that moment and like, I gave up my apartment, I bought this place for this relationship with you. But she's just like, none of this was a mistake. Because I'm like, look, she got this big ass apartment because he has kids. She would not have chosen that on her own. Like it was their apartment. Like they open up saying our apartment. And he's like, I like the sound of that, our apartment. But I knew he wasn't coming back when he was sitting in that truck at the hospital. Like I knew that when he said, I should have been here. I should have been here. I'm like, oh, Aiden ain't coming back. Because Aiden, clearly his kids are his world and his priority.
This is like saying single fathers can't have relationships. I don't understand how his girlfriend can't visit whenever she wants. And he's like, no, because I'm just going to like totally forget that I have this 14-year-old. No, you were staying on the phone with him the minute you got off the plane. So like you would only be more involved with her being there physically. Like this don't make no sense. But I'm also trying to figure out what the writers are doing, because once again, I can never forget them. So is the finale of And Just Like That supposed to be Carrie and Aiden? Like she might go off, have her little exploration, dilly dances and all that. But are we saying in the finale it's going to be Carrie and Aiden from this scene?
I thought that initially, but he says, but what could happen? So I don't think that they're waiting for each other, because that doesn't make any sense. Like they have no physical contact. They're not like, I think they're gonna see where they are in 5 years. I think that's what he means. But he says to her, and when I thought he was gonna get hit by that damn car. He was like, but what can happen? And everything can happen. You're like, if I look at my life 5 years ago, it's completely different than what my life looks like right now. So I think it's like, we know we love each other. Let's revisit. I think I'm not a parent, so I really try to be sensitive to this. I, like you said, Nicole, think it was ridiculous to be like, no, we can't do this. I was thinking he was going to say, I really need to focus on him for 6 months. I would love for you to come see me like every other week, as you've been doing. I unfortunately can't be coming up here, and we'll revisit it. Maybe talk to him, getting him into some therapies in 6 months. But again, I don't have a child, and obviously Wyatt has some sort of like anxieties and some mental health issues. I don't know what the right protocol is, but it can't be completely self-sacrificing on the parents either. So that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that she's also waiting. I think Sema might be waiting, but 5 months, which is, I still think, a ridiculous amount of time to put your life on hold, is not 5 years. So I can't possibly, I don't think he's asking her to wait literally for him. I think it's more of like, let's regroup in 2028 is what I'm getting.
Viewers, listeners, leave in the comments below what the heck you think this whole scene is, because now I don't know how this season ended. I watched the thing twice and I don't know. So, oh my god. We get a montage of our couples after this. So Harry and Charlotte are in bed trying to figure out how to activate this goddamn phone. They so old. First of all, get the teenagers to do it. That's why you have them. Miranda and this British lady, what is her name? I had it last time. I want to call her Jules, but I don't think that's her name. Is she not on IMDb, which is ridiculous. So Miranda and the British lady have a very stimulating conversation at the bar. This is also, by the way, really mirrors how the whole season started. Because if you remember, there was a montage of either sex scenes or who's solo at the beginning. So same thing. We have a song. I don't remember. It was a black ass song for some reason, right?
I don't remember what it was, but it was very, very Negro, and I appreciated it.
I'm feeling what's happening with Miranda and this other lady. The other lady's not her boss, but it's like an associate, and she's farther along. Like we said, we've never really seen Miranda be like, have the lesser of high ground in a relationship, so I'm looking forward to it. Anthony, we already talked about, is bottoming, so he going through it. But he's alive, he's living. Che and brings Toby, as if we were looking forward to any of this. But I will say they both look good though, and like that whole skyline behind it. Like if you did not know what Angels Like That was, you just stepped in, you're like, oh, look at these main characters.
But also, Che cannot afford this apartment on a veterinary receptionist salary. Please, please.
It's television, it's fiction. We have to keep brainwashing people that they can have a livable situation in New York City. We have to continue it. Carrie has ruined everyone's lives, including my own, with her little fantasy rent-controlled apartment. We got to continue the trauma. So, and next, Tucson, he walks Naya up to the door. Now, they know they're doing too much after their first full night together. He worked a full shift talking about, let me take you home. They're at the door. He's like, oh, but can I get something to eat? And she like, we just ate. This man apparently doesn't leave himself a plate while he's already in the kitchen. He's like, oh, but I didn't eat. So she lets him in. And Rami, we know how you would have handled this situation.
Legs up. Time to eat. I thought it meant. I was also screaming because like this man lives in Harlem and she lives in Brooklyn.
Right?
And he's talking about my favorite way to Harlem is through Brooklyn. I said, okay. But don't be me. But that's I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
That's a whole distance. Yeah, you don't be cooking, so I guess that's the only thing that's gonna be happening.
I mean, I think that was my thing, is like he's putting a lot of faith in this woman that he doesn't know outside of their brief conversation when they met at the restaurant. Like, I'm like, because if that would have been me, I would have been like, oh, baby, we got to figure out a restaurant to go to because I ain't got no groceries in here. Like, I'm like, what are we? So I definitely thought it was going to be something sexual because I'm like, that's the only thing that would make sense to me, instead of assuming she would have food to feed you.
Oh, am I dumb? Am I taking this way too literally? I've been taking a lot of shit literally, I'm noticing in this episode.
He ain't going to eat no breakfast food or no dinner. He a chef. He was nibbling all night. He came to eat some puss. Yep.
Okay. I mean, I think the straights just need to be direct like the gays, all right? Do you want booty, pussy? Like, let me know, because I can't read between the lines. And yeah, Sema and Ravi, they're having sex. They have a smoke after because they be smoking. And they try to make a joke. Sema is talking to this man in bed. He picks up his phone and we actually see he's scrolling through text. And it's just like picture after picture. Whose pictures are those? What are we doing? And she takes the phone from him. He takes it back, and then she has to take it again. So this is a problem. This is a real problem, or it's not a problem. Can we decide?
He needs to go the same way that little Joanne the scammer she dumped at the beginning of the season with. Get him out of here.
Truly.
We're done.
Truly. So yeah, at the end, I liked how they set them off. This was real cute. Sema's like, I'm still trying to go to the beach. And Carrie said, I'm not trying to do the Hamptons. She said, bitch, what? Who said Hamptons, bitch? We going to Mykonos. And there they go. They're just sitting on the beach talking about their men's who are away at war. And, they're just going to keep living their best lives.
But again, for me, this was a moment of like, you can just up and fly to Mykonos with your bestie, but you were acting like if your man moved to Cairo for 5 months, you don't know he leaving you forever. Girl, get a grip.
Let's be fair. I'm about to look up how long that flight is, because I know that's probably New York flight to Cairo.
It should be about 9 hours, maybe 10.
The flight from New York to Portugal is about 8 hours. And that's in Portugal.
Y'all be traveling too much to just like do this off the top of your head. I'm Googling. They're talking about connecting flights, 10 hours, 13 hours, and y'all like a direct flight.
Well, granted, more than likely they would have to do a layover in London or somewhere before going to Egypt. But yeah. I'm assuming, and like it's just as far, I'm assuming, from Cairo to New York as Greece is to New York. So again, it was just like you're feeling, they're like, oh, he's going to Cairo, he's leaving me, this is over, or like this is going to be a big thing. And then she's like, hey girl, let's go to the beach. No Hamptons, let's go to Greece.
She might just not like wanting to go to Egypt. I don't know.
She don't want to go to Egypt to be ignored, and I wouldn't either. So get him out of here. Toodles.
That's it for the episode. Are there any other thoughts that you guys have? And will you be watching in season 3? Or Rami, are you gonna make an appearance when I cover next season? You gonna be on the phone and just be like, oh, are you still in the ghetto talking about them?
So I will most likely be back, unfortunately. Because I'll be bullied into watching. Because I can't. I've been watching this for 20 years at this point. Well, actually, not 20, but whenever I started watching Sex and the City, I think it was my freshman year of college. So 2008. So I'm 10 years behind. So 15 years.
I mean, once I commit to a show, I commit. So I'm coming back I'm going to come back. I think I too, I'm just like, okay, so where do we go from here? Because it felt like season 2 wrapped so well. So it was just like, okay. I mean, I guess the continued conversation of like what Carrie and Aiden's relationship will be. Will Sema still be with Ravi? Like all these things. But I'm just like, yeah, I'm coming back. I want Miranda to be gayer. I'm looking forward to that. I'm like, yes, live your best gay life. I honestly want Carrie to dump Aiden. I'm tired. I'm just like, they don't work. As much as they love each other, they have cared for each other, they have this chemistry, they don't work. They just don't. Because Aiden is clearly a stable man who loves his family. And Carrie, honestly, I'm worried for Shu. Because I'm just like, the amount of times that Carrie had doors open and this cat just sitting around. I'm like, girl.
Shu is going to be very pampered, but it's also very wild that Shu exists, and she's really like, and then she immediately picked up the Mykonos, and it's like, who's watching Shu?
Like, I get it, cats are less of a like responsibility as dogs, but still, how long are you gonna be in Greece? Who's taking care of this cat? Like, you have this big ass house. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
The only person I would trust to take care of Shu would be Anthony. Charlotte normally, but Charlotte has Richard Burton. Miranda's a hot mess at the BBC, moving from place to place, and her and Naya are very busy. So Anthony is like her only resource in helping her take care of her cat.
Yeah. Oh no. It's so wild. All right. I think that's it. Unless I don't want to put you on the spot, Quita, and yet I do, because I think all season we've been talking about the Che of it all, and we haven't actually had like a non-binary person to talk about their thoughts of like the writing of Che. There's kind of been some drama with Sir Ramirez, I think understandably being defensive of the character, yet not wanting to be confused with the character. They're a separate person. Which is so true. Sarah Ramirez is so fucking talented. Like, Che could never be Sarah Ramirez. So let's not get it twisted. But yeah.
I think I appreciate their being a representation of a non-binary person who's like not a Gen Zer, because I feel like often the portrayals of trans and non-binary and gender non-conforming folks are often younger, as if though older non-binary folks don't exist. So I like that portrayal. I mean, I know sometimes folks don't like when queer and trans characters are like assholes because they're like, this is bad representation. But I'm like, yeah, non-binary people can also be egotistical assholes. Like that is, we don't need to have this like sanitized storyline for Che. I did appreciate when they were in LA doing the pilot, right? And like that conflict of being an actual non-binary person versus portraying a non-binary person on television, and how Hollywood and media wants to portray them in a certain way, and they were chipping away at who Che is as an actual person. I appreciated that. I appreciated when they had like the focus group and that person as a non-binary person goes in on Che the TV character, right? And like Che the person is kind of feeling attacked but also agreeing with them in ways. I love that nuance. Yeah, I love how also there, I mean, because I think with Che also there's rock, right? So you do have this like two different generational portrayals, and it's clear that, well, we don't know much about Che's coming out as a non-binary person, but we can assume, given their age, it was not easy and smooth. That moment of the vet, the doctor misgendering Che, right, is like probably something that Che has experienced a lot in their life of coming out. So, I mean, I appreciate who Che represents in media. I can't stand the character at all. Like, and I think those two things can be true at the same time.
Very fair. I love Che being an addition to the show. I loved that Che brought out Miranda to come out. I also thought, I think we both, me and Rami, thought Che was most likable in California. Yes, trying to maneuver and try to figure out how to advocate for themselves there. And they got a little bit meta with it because that focus group was inspired by a focus group that really happened for the first season of And Just Like That. That's according to Michael Patrick King. So, which I kind of figured when watching that scene. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll like Che a little more when they're not doing mind games with Miranda. And yeah, and that can be like the end of that. But yeah, I think that's all I got. Is there anything Quita, what you're working on, or where do you want people to follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at hello_Quita. I have an X profile. I don't use it, but it's there. It exists. You can find Stop Cop City tweets from 5 months ago. Yeah, you can follow me there. And yeah, I'm a consultant in my daytime work, working with a lot of nonprofits. So if you go to my Instagram, my daytime work is also tagged in the link. So yeah.
Nice. And what you got going on, Rami?
I'm still over at Variety, doing TV criticism. My next reviews coming out will be The Changeling, which is Lakeith Stanfield's Apple TV Plus, Power Book Force Season 2. And I'm actually reviewing Yellowstone because I've never seen it, and it's coming to broadcast because of this strike. They're moving it, like playing it from the beginning on CBS, which is actually hilarious. You can find me at A Word with Aramide. I don't really be on X talking about nothing, child, but I need to go ahead and delete it. All I do is really retweet people's foolishness and retweet my own work. But you can find me on Miss Graham and on the TikTok, though, as Nicole knows, I don't know how to use it. I know how to make a reel or whatever, a little video. I don't know how to respond to people. I'm so sorry. I'm not there yet. I'm old. But we're doing our best.
We are. For me, I started contributing to Collider as a reality TV writer. Right now, I'm writing about The Ultimatum. So can look out for that and read that if you're interested. And yeah, like I said, we're gonna have one more video about this show with Princess Weeks talking about the whole season as a whole. So keep an eye out on that. And I am still doing exit interviews for Big Brother 25. So much is happening. So much is happening. And we have another eviction tonight. So whoever gets evicted, it's Cameron or Heisem. Yeah. Just making sure I didn't do a spoiler. Uh, so whoever is gonna get evicted, I talked to them on Monday. So please check that out. Have a good one, guys. Oh, wow.